Do you believe that there are major American corporations that are cheating on their taxes?
I think yes, there are cases where the transfer pricing regulations are not being followed, and Mr. Curtis's testimony speaks to that.
Who are they? Who are the five? Name the five American corporations that are the biggest tax cheats. And it makes it hard to believe your allegations if you won't tell us who they are. Talk's cheap. You ever heard that expression?
I wouldn't use the word cheating. I think that they are taking advantage of the gray zone.
You used it in your testimony.
I'm sorry?
You used it in your testimony. I'm not trying to trick you. I just want to know you have been very vociferous.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Liberty Watchtower, where truth takes center stage. Here, we keep you informed, engaged, and thinking critically in a world that often demands it. If you're new to the channel, like this video, subscribe and tap the notification bell to never miss a dose of real, unfiltered truth. Let's dive in. An issue that lies at the very heart of our economic and fiscal system, the role of major American corporations in eroding our tax base through aggressive tax strategies, and the urgent need for stronger enforcement, transparency, and reform. Over the past several decades, as globalization and digital innovation have accelerated, multinational corporations have gained unprecedented tools to move profits across borders, shift income to low-tax jurisdictions, and reduce their effective tax rates far below what average American businesses and working families pay. These strategies are often described as tax avoidance, that is, legal maneuvering to reduce tax bills.
We have Senator Kennedy, then Chairman Wyden, and then Senator Braun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Mellon, is your expertise in the area, Mr. Bunn made this distinction, is your expertise in the area of tax avoidance or tax evasion or both?
I would say both. I think the lines, there are situations where the lines might get blurry, especially on the corporate side. But in my...
it's both?
It's both. In short, it's both.
Do you believe that there are major American corporations that are cheating on their taxes?
I think yes, there are cases where the transfer pricing regulations are not being followed, and Mr. Curtis's testimony speaks to that.
Who are they? Who are the five? Name the five American corporations that are the biggest tax cheats.
Well, this is a question for the IRS. It's their job to enforce the laws. So I wouldn't.
But that's a pretty serious allegation you made there, and I'm just asking you who they are.
There are cases pending against a number of companies until those cases conclude. It's not.
Who do you think they are? You're an expert in this area. I'm just asking you. You talked a lot, and I've read some of your writings about American corporations cheating on their taxes. I'm just asking you who they are.
I wouldn't use the word cheating. I think that they are taking advantage of the gray zone.
You used it in your testimony.
I'm sorry?
You used it in your testimony. I'm not trying to trick you. I just want to know you have been very vociferous in saying that American companies are cheating. Okay, that's America. You're entitled to your opinion, but you're an expert, and just tell me who they are.
I stand by that. I think that there is evidence to suggest that some of these companies and the IRS has pursued cases against a number of the companies that Mr. Curtis has analyzed, including Apple and Microsoft and Facebook and Coca-Cola.
Is Apple a tax cheat?
I wouldn't say tax cheat. I think that's putting it too strongly, and I didn't use that word.
Then who are they?
I wouldn't say tax cheats, but I think they are crossing the legal lines that have been set by Congress and by the IRS in the relevant regulations. And because the IRS is outgunned, they're not able to enforce the law against them.
Let me start over. Do you believe that there are major American corporations cheating on their taxes?
I believe they are coming very close to crossing the line, and it's difficult for IRS that is outgunned to enforce the line.
Are they crossing the line or not?
Well, it's up to the IRS to enforce the line if they don't have the resources.
I'm asking you your opinion. You're an expert.
I think there's a good case to be made that, yes, they are crossing the line.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Who are they?
That's up to the courts and the IRS to determine.
You made this allegation, but you don't want to say who they are? How do I mean, if you know who they are, you just don't want to tell us?
But in many cases, the behavior pushes or even crosses the line into what the law defines as tax evasion and illegal act. The distinction between avoidance and evasion is legally important. But in practice, it's increasingly difficult to discern where one ends and the other begins, particularly when we look at complex corporate arrangements involving offshore subsidiaries, shell entities, and manipulative transfer pricing practices. What we know is this: some of the most profitable companies in the world are paying a fraction of their fair share in taxes, not because the law exempts them, but because they are exploiting loopholes that were never intended to exist. Let me be clear, this is not a theoretical problem. The consequences are real. When wealthy corporations avoid their tax responsibilities, it shifts the burden to small businesses and middle-class Americans. It undermines trust in our institutions. And it robs our country of critical revenue needed to invest in infrastructure, education, healthcare, and national security. The IRS, which is charged with enforcing the law, has been systematically underfunded and outgunned. The result? An enforcement gap where the most aggressive and often most sophisticated forms of corporate tax manipulation go unchecked. This is not a failure of will at the IRS. It is a failure of policy, resources, and political will. In my work, both as a researcher and in consultation with policy experts, I have seen strong evidence that certain companies are indeed operating at or beyond the edges of legality when it comes to their tax strategies. While I am not a prosecutor, and I do not bring formal accusations today, I echo the findings of credible investigations that have scrutinized the tax practices of some of our largest tech and pharmaceutical firms. Some will ask, if you believe companies are cheating on their taxes, name them. But identifying specific tax violations is the job of enforcement agencies, and such determinations must come through due process. What I can say, and what the evidence strongly supports, is that the U.S. tax system is being gamed by several powerful actors, and that without stronger enforcement and reform, this behavior will continue unchecked. Let me close by saying this: the public's confidence in our tax system depends on fairness, and fairness cannot exist when the rules are tilted in favor of those with the most lawyers and lobbyists. Congress has the power to change this. By strengthening IRS enforcement capacity, closing egregious loopholes, and demanding greater corporate transparency, we can begin to restore integrity to the system.
I think that's been explained by Mr. Curtis in his analysis.
I'm asking you to explain. You talk about tax cheats. I'm just asking you who they are, and you don't want to tell us?
It's again, I think it's for the IRS to enforce the line, and we need to make sure that the IRS is properly...
Well, do you have a list of these tax sheets?
No.
Okay. Have you been to the IRS and said, here are these companies and they're cheating on their taxes and I can show you how they're doing it?
No, I'm not. That's not I've never practiced in that area of law. I'm not a tax whistleblower lawyer.
All you've done is run around saying American companies are cheating on their taxes. I can't tell you who they are, and I haven't been to the IRS to show my data to the IRS, but I want you to believe me that they're cheating on their taxes. Is that your testimony today?
No, Senator, no.
It sure sounds like it.
I think that the case against some of these companies has been well documented in the
Which companies? Let me ask you one
public.
because I'm going to run out of time. Tell me in the last 23 seconds, here's your chance. You believe there are major American corporations cheating on their taxes. You just testified to that. I believe you told me yes. Tell me who they are.
I think there are the companies that Mr. Curtis discussed in his testimony.
Tell me who they are.
It includes some of the big tech companies. It includes some of the pharma companies that are.
Who are the 5 worst?
I don't have a ranking. I have not compiled.
You don't want to say.
I haven't looked into that.
You understand it makes it hard to believe your allegations if you won't tell us who they are. Talk's cheap. You ever heard that expression? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Wyden.
Thank you very much.
You've actually done some investigation in this space.
With your cooperation,